It's to do with changes that are coming to Gmail. My brother got an email that put him in a wee bit of a panic. Google had sent him an email saying, oh, things are going to happen. And he was thinking, wait a minute, I'm not sure about this. So I kind of had a wee look into it and did some investigating and found out the following. But in order to explain it, I've got to explain a wee bit of history. So you'll have to indulge me for 5 minutes to explain some history. In the beginning, we all used computers like this. There were black screens and terminal lines and stuff like that. And you could run one program at a time. One of the programs that you sometimes used was a thing called mail. But in those days, mail was sent within the same computer. Very typically, you'd have 8 or 12 or 24 of you on the same machine, shared within a business or within a department or whatever. How that worked was you were connected to an email server. And that email server was connected to your organization. And then what happened was the internet happened. And suddenly, not only were you connected to your organization, but now you were connected to the internet via your internet service provider. And that meant that you could email not only people that worked in the same building as you, but also people in other organizations and other buildings and other countries and all sorts of groovy stuff. In order to make this happen, there were a whole bunch of email protocols. I've mentioned the three currently most popular. Simple Mail Transport Protocol, SMTP, Post Office Protocol, POP, and Internet Mail Access Protocol, IMAP. And these were then used for connecting machines to each other. However, we're still in the dark ages. We've still got black screens. We've still got one program running at a time. The next thing that happened was this. Windows came along. We're talking about, I don't know, late 80s maybe. And almost immediately, Microsoft brought out Microsoft Office. And things were bumping along fine. At this point, the computer got rolled out to everybody. Teachers that weren't teaching computing suddenly had computers. Accountants had computers, and people in marketing and people's secretaries had computers, where before they had typewriters or word processors, now everybody had computers. And a year or two after that, this fella, who happens to have a model railway, see, you always work in the model railway angle, Chiz. I know, I'm doing it. This guy here's a big model railway fan. Anyway, he invented the World Wide Web. And after that, we then had the usual people connected, but apart from the email protocols and all these other protocols, FTP and Telnet and SNM, all these other things for doing other things, we had HTTP web pages. And for a long time, everybody thought that the internet was the World Wide Web. Now, it wasn't, it was a lot of other things, but this was what everybody saw. And initially, there were dozens of people all trying to get you to use them. There's some real old names for the past here that you may recognize. Some of you are probably too young to recognize. But these all ate each other, and eventually the only one left in the skip. You know that trick about down the mines, they used to, the last shift before the holidays, they all threw the crust off their pieces into one of the coal hutches. And while they were away over the summer holidays, all the rats used to get in after the pieces. And once they ate all the bread, all the rats started eating each other. None of them could get out the hutch because of the angle of the sides. And when they come back for their holidays, they only had one great big fat rat to kill with a shovel. And that was how they tidied up, kept the mines clean. Well, this happened here as well. And the one big fat rat that emerged from this scenario was called Google. And then Google owned everything, and everything that people did went through Google. And for a couple of years, that was great. And then Google decided that they were going to bring out something called Gmail, which was a Google Mail client. Now, the Google Mail client runs on a web page. Everything Google did at that point, everything Google does is web page based. And so Gmail is based on a web page. And now suddenly, everything was happening over the World Wide Web. But the problem was that in a lot of organizations, they were still using Microsoft Office. And in particular, they were using that part of Microsoft Office, the Outlook. Now, Outlook was Microsoft's mail browser, and it used the old SMTP POP type email services. It wasn't web-based. And so while you would like this to be the model, because of Outlook, most organizations had this, whereby they had to have an email server for their Outlook, plus web servers for their web traffic at both ends. And things get much more complicated than they needed to be. But that was 20 years ago. Gmail's been on the go for 20 years. So nowadays, Gmail have decided, Google have decided that they're going back to this model. And so they are no longer going to support Outlook as a client. And they're giving us warning of it. They've given us about 6 months warning that as of later this year, there'll be no more connecting via Outlook. The implications for this is that you'll no longer be able to use Outlook. If you're used to using Outlook, that functionality will stop. Outlook will just no longer connect. You will lose any local storage or any archiving or any folders. You'll still have them, they'll still be on your machine, they'll just not connect to the internet anymore. So if you get an email from somebody, it will no longer automatically get archived via your Outlook when you archive your Outlook. Any that's using Outlook will know about the Outlook PST files that you use to save stuff. Your emails will no longer go straight to the PST files when you save things. All is not lost. Everything that you do is held on Gmail. Gmail know more about you than you know about yourself. All the information, all the emails that come and go will still be held on Gmail services. It can still be downloaded if you know how to. I'll explain that in a minute. Gmail has all the facilities that Outlook had. It's got contact lists, it's got folders, it's got groupings, it's got all that good stuff if you know how to look for it. This will make it cheaper and easier for IT departments. It'll make it cheaper and easier for everybody. And I'm willing to bet that at this minute, somebody somewhere is building a wrapper for Gmail to make it look like Outlook, so that people that are used to using Outlook will be able to use Gmail and think they're still in Outlook. Because really, this is the only people it's going to affect, is the people that have spent 20 years on Outlook and don't really like the changes. Gmail are running out a new Gmail interface. Some of you may already have seen it. It started running out in February. It's going to have Gmail, Google Chat, Google Meetings, Google Contacts, all that stuff is all going to be in the one place. If you don't like it and you want to go back, then there's a button to take you back to your old-fashioned Google setup, and that'll be fine. However, they say that this is until June 22, and in June 22, the new Gmail interface will become permanent. My own experience of these things in the past is people like Microsoft and Google have put solid deadlines like that up before, and then be forced to roll them back because of the kickback, the blowback that they've had from people. So it may well be that that June 22 deadline happens, and it may well be that that June 22 deadline doesn't happen. In the meantime, what you should do is, if you've got Outlook, you should go to Outlook and archive all your mail to a PST file. Very easy to do. And if you've been using Outlook for all these years, you'll know how to archive your emails so that you've got a safety copy of them. On G Drive, you can also download and archive your data, but that's a secret. People don't realize that. If you go to the Gmail interface and look round about, you can't see a place there to download and archive all your stuff. And that's because Google just keeps all the stuff they have on you. They don't keep the emails in a separate silo. They keep it along with all the videos that you've looked at and all the web pages you've visited and all that stuff, all in one great big store of information that they have upon you. If you open Google, www.google.com, up in the top right-hand corner, there's a button with your initial in it, up there. If you press that, you can go into your account and manage your account. And in there, there's an option to download all the information or pick the information that you want, pick the emails, pick the search histories, pick whatever you want and download it as a great big text file that you can keep on your machine. It might be worth doing that. But this is coming. It's coming ostensibly before June. And if you're an Outlook user, you maybe have to worry about it. Any questions?